There are an awful lot of troubling things going on in our world these days, aren't there? Things that can really get us down at times. Yesterday, there was yet another school shooting. It's hard to deal with the continual political divide. There are significant social issues like homelessness and racism. And then on top of all of that, there are our own personal struggles and challenges that we have to deal with. So in the midst of all of these things, how do we stay positive? How do we find peace? Well, for people of faith, it's about clinging to the hope that we have in Jesus and trusting in Him. It's about remembering that God has a plan and that He holds the future in His hands. We also need to remember that Jesus was pretty honest about the fact that this life was going to be a rocky ride at points. So this shouldn't be a surprise to us. Jesus said there would be trouble, but that He had overcome the world. So we need to trust Him and hold on to that hope. But finding peace and staying positive also has a lot to do with where we put our focus in this life. I think a lot of people put their main focus on the things that are wrong with the world and the things that are wrong with their own lives. And that's not a great place for our focus. Focusing on what is wrong, on the negative, is always going to drag us down eventually. Now, I don't mean that we should ignore the hard and the wrong things. Not at all. We need to face those things. We need to deal with them. But at the same time, we don't need to live in them 24 hours a day. We don't need to make them the main or sole focus of our lives. And a lot of people do that. Listen to what the Apostle Paul says in Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 through 9. First, he says this: "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, and with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the God of peace, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." So first, Paul calls us by faith to give over to God all of the things that worry and stress us. And he says that if we do, God will give us peace. So we need to hold on to that. We need to hold on to that hope, and we need to trust that God will be at work in our lives, just like I said. But then Paul also says this. He says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put into practice, and the God of peace will be with you." So Paul also says that we need to set our hearts, or in a way, we need to set our focus on what is positive, on what is good and right, and particularly on God and the things of God. Focusing on what is good, focusing on God and the things of God is so much better for our hearts and our souls than focusing on what's wrong in the world. Focusing on the negative drags us down. Focusing on what is good and positive helps us stay positive, helps us even to be motivated and empowered at sometimes to add to the good that we see. So let's hold on to the hope that we have in Jesus and trust Him. And as we do this, let's also focus on what is good, what is right, and what is positive, and particularly on our God and the things of God.